Hello, geographers. This is an exciting day because you are going to begin your state project. And this is an opportunity that you have as a fourth grader at Sacred Hearts, kind of a fourth grade rite of passage. And your teachers and I are all so excited to work on the state project with you and hope you'll enjoy learning along the way. So your teacher will be letting you know which state you're studying, but I'm going to give you a brief overview and tell you your task for today. So if you know me, you probably know I love to run. And so I like to use a running analogy for the state project. I always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. So what I mean by that is it has several steps and several parts, and you have to pace yourself out and stay strong. And it's so worth it when you finish, but it's not going to go quickly like a sprint. We've got to put slow and steady hard work into it. And your teachers are here to help you with that. So first, let me give you the big picture, state project overview. Uh, as you work through the different stages of this project, I want you to think about this main question: what makes your state great? So part one, over the next several weeks, we'll be researching. And we'll tell you which sites and books to use to help guide your research. We'll also tell you more about which topics you'll be researching. Then after that, or kind of in conjunction with that, as you research, you'll also work on an expository report, which means a nonfiction report to teach your audience about your state. We'll give you more information about exactly how that will look and how that'll be assessed for you so that you can be set up for success. After that, I'll admit this is usually the most favorite part of the project. You will work on a project board, and that'll happen after you finished your report. Lots more details on that in the future. And finally, you'll give your speech. And again, more details to come on that, but the focus will be our original question: what makes your state great? So now you see why I said this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? That is a lot of components. So just wanted to give you that overview, but it's nothing you need to be working on yet today. Wait for your teachers to give you more details about all of the different steps. However, today you will get to begin part one research. And let me talk you through those directions. So we know our big question. At this point, you could say it with me. What makes your state great? And in our guided research in the weeks ahead, we'll look more closely at these areas just to kind of keep them in your mind. Geography, the climate, the history, places to visit, economy, meaning two key industries, and interesting facts. Again, we're going to take several weeks to research all this, and your teachers will give you a lot more information about what specifically we're looking for in those topics. But here's the fun part. Today, you get to set your own purpose for reading and learning about your state by completing what's called a KWL chart, stands for what I know, want to know, and learned, and beginning to read information from the websites that we give you. So I've written out the directions very carefully. I expect you to RTD, which stands for read the directions. I'm going to go over them briefly, but you still need to RTD, read the directions. So before you start reading, you'll go down here in the chart and fill out what you already know. You chose your state for a reason, and we want to hear some facts you already know. Again, do try to make these facts, though, not just your opinions about your state. So because we're focusing on nonfiction, do that first, get at least 3. Then go in the second column, what I want to know, and write at least 2 questions you have about your state. Maybe you are curious, what do people typically have as jobs in my state? Why do people go visit my state? Just a wide variety. Those were some that popped into my mind, but there's no wrong answer to here. What do you want to know about your state? Fill that out. all before you read. Then you get to start reading and researching. Now, I've given you 3 websites to use today. Please only use these websites for today, just so we can guide your research and make sure we're sending you to credible resources that you'll continue to use. Now, rub your ears so I know you're listening. It's really important. You are not expected to read everything on every website. That would take you several hours, and this is just the introduction assignment. So if you want to read more, of course you always can. You can, of course, go above and beyond, but I would expect you'll spend about a good 15 minutes reading through your sites, and you're going to use your strategies for nonfiction reading that we've just been over quite a bit. And that means that you can skip around. You don't have to read every section of every article. You also will want to use headings to help guide you to parts that you're curious about that you want to read more closely. So let me show you one of these. If we go to World Book Online, you'll log in with the username password that's given, and then it will load slowly but surely. You can pick kids or student. I would recommend starting with student, or you can actually, you know what, I think if we start with kids, it'll take us to student. So let's do it that way. But they're just kind of the same information presented at a couple different levels. So obviously the kids one is going to be more basic research, and then the student one is going to take you to more advanced. So if you already feel ready to jump into student, that would be fine. I'm going to type in my state, Illinois, and notice it gives a couple options. I want the one that's the US state. If that happens, you have to use your judgment to find the right one. Oh, that's so strange. This happened to me last time. We'll try it again. I'm going to type it in again, Illinois. An article should pop up. Here we go. Okay, now we're ready. So again, I am a good nonfiction reader, so I'm going to pay attention to text features. I'm going to pay attention to headings to decide what I'm really interested in. This is a short enough article, you could read it definitely from start to finish, but you'll see when we go in the student how that might get a little more complicated. Also pay attention to links because they can have a lot of good information. Illinois in brief will be a great one to just give you some general facts that you might be interested in. Okay, so if I go down here, then this is why I said we'll go this way, because now it lets me into the student version. So now I'm ready to go to that article. And I think once we get here, you'll see what I mean about being a good nonfiction reader, skipping around or skimming parts and focusing in on what you're really interested in. So again, you have to use your judgment. Which one do I click on? This doesn't really look like it'll tell me about my state. This looks like it will. This is about the river. Okay, I want this one. So click on that article. And then over here is a nice table of contents. So maybe right away, well, I would probably start with the introduction. That'll be a good place to start your reading. But if I know I want to learn more about the history of Illinois, I can jump right down to that section and focus more on reading this. Instead of reading, see, I told you this one is quite a lengthy article. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You expected to read the entire thing top to bottom? You're going to use your nonfiction reading strategies. Focus in on what interests you most. Okay, so we've explored an article or a website. You have 2 more options for websites to explore. Let's go back to our steps. After you've done some reading or as you read, fill out this 3rd column, what I learned about my state, with at least 4 facts. So over here, you'll have at least 4, definitely could have more. And then finally, your last step is actually to go back to the what I want to know. You already filled out 2 questions before. Fill out 2 new questions that came up for you as you were reading. And maybe your old ones got answered. You could even write the answers in there too if those got answered. But the reason we're doing this is because research is a process. You don't just answer a question and move on. You go through a cycle where you research or you pick a question, you find information about that, And then you generate even more questions. So that's why we're coming back to that column to keep building on our knowledge. I think that covers it for today, giving you a lot to think about. I hope you're as excited about this project as we are and enjoy learning what makes your state great.